We've got 2 clones, but only 1 gun. And if you're a fan of the Delta Force stuff, like I am, you're gonna wanna watch this one through. Because not only are we building the Battle of Mogadishu Colt 723 with some new accessories that you've never seen on this channel before, but we're also going old school with some 80s stuff. That's right, Invasion of Panama is happening. Maybe I shouldn't say that, that might happen. I'm talking about Operation Just Cause and Acid Gambit in 1989. Now before I go any further, I do want to let you guys know that this rifle was sent to me by evic.com. This is the EMG CGS Gas Blowback. My first gas blowback, and boy am I having a lot of fun with it already. But my opinions and everything that I've already expressed in the previous video are my opinions alone and not affected by this partnership with this replica. What you guys are here for though is making this thing look absolutely beautiful. And the first thing that all airsoft replicas struggle with is this ugly orange tip. Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, which you should probably check out if you want to pick out one of these, this flash hider is pinned in with a roll pin. And there's plenty of videos that talk about how to do that, so I'm not going to bore you with it, but essentially, if you use a Dremel and make some cuts, you can still remove the orange plastic and then the roll pin itself. It shouldn't be glued in from my knowledge, but I'm going to go do that right now and report back to you guys. Thank you, handy pliers. That's all that's left of the orange tip, because we've got bare threads now. It was literally like 2 minutes of dremeling. And we're gonna fix that with one of the flash hiders that I picked up on evic.com. They come with a little washer set for some of them. I think all the flash hiders that they have, the standard birdcage M4 ones, are from various brands. So whether or not they're going to be, you know, the same thing every time, I'm not sure, but that looks like it's gonna fit right on. There's a little bit of glue, so I might clean some of these threads up, just, you know, brush them out. All right, threads cleaned out, let's do this for real. I'm gonna pop that on, and then screw the steel flash hider on. And then bam, there you go. Things looking a lot better already. So I think we should start with Panama. Now, the invasion of Panama happened in, I guess for Delta, a couple main stages. Well, they had their missions in Noriega and all. One of the primary and beginning objectives of the entire operation was rescuing Kurt Muse from the Modelo prison. This raid was conducted by a squadron of Delta Force, and their rifle setups are actually kind of the same. But there's a few key parts of them, and this is one clone build of it. You do see some variation throughout all. But the first thing, and honestly one that I'm most excited for, is my QXL. This is made with all original parts, including a vintage switch and a vintage QXL dive light by Underwater Kinetics. I made a whole video on how to do this, so if you're lucky enough to find one of these for yourself, check that video out and you can make one of these for relatively inexpensive. But the first thing that's gotta happen is I have to take the lower handguard off, because that's where this sits. Now, the holes on the lower handguard are spaced out perfectly so that this will sit right within. I'm going to pull this kind of far back, truthfully, and on the inside, I'm going to screw it all together. I'm going to use a pair of pliers to get these more than hand tight. And now we have the QXL dive light attached to the underside of our handguard. This is going to go right back on. Now what you'll notice is the lower sling point is sort of impeded. So I'm going to attach a sling separately at the end of this segment, but just stay tuned for that. The next thing we're gonna do comes in the top. Now, you don't have to run an optic for this setup. Truthfully, for Panama, this is almost a completely acceptable setup. However, you do see some special guys rocking the Aimpoint 2000s. Before we get to that beauty though, let's first put on our Maryland Gunworks Weaver rail. If you watched one of my recent videos, you know that this is not one of those check-in reproductions. This is a legit one that you can still buy. So if you want to find out how, go check out that video. But I'm going to attach this right through the bottom, and all I have to do is line it up, screw it in, and we're happy. This rail mount is solid. And what I really like about it is you can actually see through the rail mount with your iron sights. Kind of cool. Now let's attach that Aimpoint. This is a legitimate Aimpoint 2000 optic. This is the short variant, which is one of the common variants I've seen on the Delta Force pictures. However, there are longer variants of the Aimpoint 2000, so whatever you can get your hands on will be acceptable for a build like this. I do have to detach the Leopold scope rings. These are the vertical split rings with a 1-inch diameter. And while you can find other cheap reproductions of this, the Leopolds are kind of where it's at. Real firearms parts for a real clone build. The originals did come from Aimpoint as far as I'm aware, but these again will work because they are identical. Just because I want to make sure I'm getting it as tight as possible, I'm noticing a little bit of play. I'm going to take it off and just cinch it down a tad more. Tighten down on the mount itself, and I'm going to, again, just attach it to the gun. Let's actually line this up a little bit better though. And there we go. We have the Aimpoint 2000 mounted on the Colt 723. There's one more thing we have to do for the Panama Build. We could do the jungle mags, although because right now I only have the gas blowback mags and not a real one to stick to the side, I don't want it to necessarily ruin the look of the gun because I want it to look, again, realistic. It's a replica. So you can do that with tape and cardboard in the middle to give them sort of a outward angle. But what I'm talking about is attaching a sling. And this is a team-style sling, one that was used by Paul Howe during this operation and many other operators. This is made by myself, T.G.L. Equipment, to complement builds like this. Someone who's looking for a retro style. I have other things on there, so go check out tglequipment.com. Regardless, let's attach this with a special piece. In this bag here, I have one of the old USGI triangle sling mounts. This comes with a rear piece right here, and this is an original one. They can be still found for pretty cheap. I found this brand new set for $2 at my local surplus store. And while the instructions say to loop this around the stock, I'm actually going to ditch it for now and just use the front piece because the rear of the sling is the standard piece of webbing. But this is kind of cool, and you see it on some of those builds. And with very little effort, this is now attached and ready to mount the sling. This not only locks the swivel onto the rifle, but allows it to pivot just a little bit. And let's get a magazine in there. In all of its glory, we've built the Panama 723. And as much fun as it was to build the Panama carbine, we've got to travel forward in time to one of the next big publicized operations that Delta Force took part in, the Battle of Mogadishu, or Operation Gothic Serpent. Now, not a lot changed. In fact, the idea of having a flashlight underneath the handguard and an aimpoint optic stayed the same. But there are some other minor additions and other tweaks that happened. So let's first remove this aimpoint optic. I don't know what happened to the washer. Oh, just fell. Starting with a clean slate is always sad because this build is probably the way I'm going to keep it after this video. I don't know. I have to put the other one together. Maybe I'll change my mind. You tell me. Which do you like better? Okay. Aimpoint and QXL light taken off, set to the side. Before we put this handguard back on, let's start with the light that's going to go on there. And this is a Laser Products 6P with a Surefire IR cap on top. While this does fit on, it was also taped on. Just a small little detail. And again, the Laser Products light, particularly this one being the 6P, was used during the battle, as well as the Surefire 660. All the old gen versions, of course. And this one, I'm going to put as far forward on the handguard as possible. I like the flashlight as a hand rest, but this really gets in the way given how small it is. So this is going to go on the very front. This is a Weaver 61M rail with, again, that Leopold 1-inch vertical split scope ring. And there you go, we've got it attached right here. I'm also going to remove this sling for the time being. Sadly, my nice team sling is going to the side. So sad, but let's get this back on the front. And there we go, we have our Laser Products 6P. Now, the optic that we're going to use is going to be an Aimpoint as well. However, the Aimpoint 3000. While it isn't exact to tell whether it was a 3000 or 5000, evidence does show that both were there. However, Larry Vickers did say that a lot of the Delta operators tried to stay away from the 3000 only because the plastic caps would get lost or break. But again, it's really hard to tell actually in reference photos, and that's C Squadron that was there during the battle. We're going to use another MGW rail mount. Well, Weaver mount. Again, seriously, check out that video. My Patreon guys know how to get these. You should too. All right, looks like all the way around we are lined up, so let's tighten this baby down. My goodness, this build is going to be awesome. Way better than the AEG one I did. For all those people that said, get into gas blowbacks, you were right, you were right. There we go. We are locked on. Let's attach this baby to the gun. All right. Look at that. There we go. Way more slick, way more lightweight. And while this is still a long optic and a big old style, it looks really cool. It's a little more sleek without that whole thing hanging off the side. But now we've got two more things this time. On my AEG build, I had the Ready Mag. I'm not going to do that on this build because I've got something that's even more special. For all you Gordy guys out there, I've got an OpSync suppressor. This is a fake airsoft one, but I think it is not only a heck of a cool look, it's also really heavy, so it adds some really good heft to the gun. Now I am going to have to take off this flash hider that we painstakingly put on in the beginning. All that work undone again. And truthfully, you can still see these OpSync suppressors used during the time of Panama, and of course used after in 1991's Desert Storm. Those Scud Hunters, let me know if you guys want me to do a kit like that. Now this suppressor is going to be challenging to attach, only because the threads are all the way inside, so lining it up might be a bit of a task. I'm probably going to cut that part out so you don't have to see it, but let's first attach the barrel shroud here. Now this goes right over the bayonet lug here, and you cinch it down with some Allen keys. Now, one of my favorite details that you will see is just the ring for the OpSync suppressor on some rifles. They weren't running the suppressor all the time, so this is kind of cool to notice. Look at reference photos and tell me if you see it. Let's get this bad boy on. Oh, looks like your boy made a fatal error. I forgot that I needed a barrel extension for this. How tragic. Whether this is a 16-inch requirement or what, I don't know. It's not the 14.5, I can assure you that. It looks so cool though. So what I'm just going to do is leave that little nut on there, get my flash hider back, and we'll rock this thing as some of them do in the photos anyway. Probably still going to have that be part of the thumbnail because it's such an iconic look. I promise I'll fix that and make an update video. Sorry to disappoint. We're almost done though. We got to get this sling on here and then we can showcase this thing shooting. Now the sling I'm going to use is the standard USGI silent sling. This thing was used all over the place, especially in Panama and Mogadishu with the Delta Force guys. It's not as cool as the other one that we showed, the team style one, but it's very kosher. And in Paul Howe's team, there's a guy especially that's just running it right around the front sight post, and that's what I want to do. This thing's ready to rip. It's hard to do range theatrics in your basement. This thing's stunning. And that, my friends, is 2 builds, 1 gun. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I had fun making it. I cannot wait to do more, and I'll update you guys about getting this OpSync suppressor on. As always, this is the Gear.Locker. Let me know which one was your favorite. We'll see you guys in the next one, and hopefully all the rest after that. Little cornier, but I think I'm okay with that outro. It's better than the standard I do. I love gas blowbacks.